everyone. Welcome to the commercial equipment category of this year's Core77 Awards. There were a lot of great entries this year, a lot at a very high quality, actually, and a lot of great thinking and depth of thinking displayed throughout almost every single entry. So the team spent a great deal of time working remotely, but working to judge and deliberate amongst all these entries. So really hard choices this year, but there were some that rose to the top, and we're going to use this time to give a little bit more insight into some of our thinking and reasoning for awarding the specific winners. So before we get started, I'd like to introduce the team of jurors who worked together on this. So my name is Peter Mikhailian. I head design at Dolby Laboratories.
Hello, glad to be here. My name is Anton Ljunggren. I'm the Director of Design Innovation at PepsiCo.
Hey, my name is Christopher Kuh. I'm the VP of Industrial Design at Ammunition.
So before we launched into really sorting through and deliberating across the different entries, we wanted to make sure we were aligned on the lens that we were looking at these entries through. So just to talk a little bit about the criteria, firstly, this idea of the role of design and ensuring that the solution and the product really embodied the thinking and sort of the execution that comes through the lens of design, and making sure that that was clear, throughout the full process, and then the resultant solution space.
And then secondly, we wanted to make sure that the semiotics were well expressed. So that's not just expressing the aesthetics, but how the aesthetics express the brand, how they express the functionality of the unit, and creating kind of the whole experience through the expression of the unit or the product.
Yeah. And then lastly, the impact the solution has. And we think about impact across really the vectors of business, the industry that the solution or the product is kind of sits within, and then the impact on society and the social impact overall. So just really like thinking about really that, like how much of a game changer the resultant product or solution is in the space overall.
And then as a summary of all of these three, right, like a lot of our conversation circled around the trying to balance and find a good representation of a project that has a good balance of all three of these. We have a lot of great, visual design or sculptural design. We have a lot of really great impact, but a project that actually could mix and encompass all three in a good balance.
So the winner of this year's Core77 Award in the commercial equipment category is the Philips Azurion Plus Flex Arm. And at the end of the day, this really felt like it would be a game changer and make a huge impact in the field of minimal invasive medicine. And we'll talk through some of the components, but it felt like taking something that was highly complex in terms of an operating procedure and all that goes into it, and creating a very thoughtful sort of orchestration of all of the elements within a space, both for the patient and for the medical professional.
It's really the ceiling-mounted architecture that fluidly moves around the patient that allows for a completely new, seamless workflow that we have not seen like this before. The design really seems to consider all critical touch points as multiple teams of surgeons and medical staff access the patient simultaneously from multiple angles. It seems to make the setup highly adaptable to a number of different procedures, from minimal invasive to spine and lung surgeries. And considering the complexity, we were actually impressed by how clean, almost calm, the appearance of the design was. And it really helps to reduce stress for patients and medical professionals alike.
and also the flexibility between different functionalities. So like what we see here, the head or going through different parts of the body and being able to move between minimal invasive to larger operations when they happen throughout the process. And then the UI and the UX, very thoughtful, clean, simple buttons and jogs, as well as the simplicity of the UI up on the screen. And then how the UI is also used in a friendly way, much like the overall design of the whole unit, to not only show in a very intuitive way to the medical staff, but also being able to use it for the patient, both in a totally, psychological way and showing something like this, but also showing what's going on for the patient, right? So letting the patient be part of the journey and understanding what they see is happening with them. So Philips truly delivered integrated package of innovative and advanced engineering, UX design, industrial design across the whole board. So that's why we want to recognize them with this award and want to congratulate them. Well-deserved winner.
So introducing the runner-up for the commercial equipment category is the Starbucks Phantom Espresso machine. Again, thinking about this category and the role of design when you have a coffee machine such as an espresso maker for commercial use, the level of complexity that goes into the design of the machine, but also sort of the quality of the end product in the espresso. I mean, there's a lot that is required there. And when you look at even just a snapshot of the final result, that complexity feels very integrated within the design and almost masked in a way.
What we really liked about the Phantom Espresso is how the design team set off to break down the barrier between the barista and the customer, which you would usually see at a point of sales. And it really, in that way, features an entirely new, surprising architecture that moves the actual brewing process out of sight under the counter. And what you see on top of the counter is really just the tap itself. That installation has a very strong, sculptural quality to it that features a dramatic relationship of those two geometric elements, that vertical post, and then the horizontal brass pipe with its polished finish. And it really becomes the centerpiece of the entire device and takes all the attention.
Yeah, and from a experience design, I think they've done a really good job, the design team here, in curating the steps of the process, the brewing process, and taking out some that doesn't have to be there, and really celebrating others to create almost a theatrical experience, like celebrating the coffee, celebrating the craft, and also interestingly being able to kind of adjust between speed and theater, if you will, so that the unit is built to run fast when you're busy, and what's it called? A hamper fills grinds the coffee underneath the table. But if you want to have a conversation and go in deeper and make that connection to the customer, so that maybe they even hopefully walk out with not only their coffee but a bag of coffee in the end, you can go through the whole process and pour the coffee in and really kind of extend the process. So I think there's a really interesting balance between those two, which is a great value for the business of Starbucks and for the reality of putting this in a real cafe. And again, like each element, even the cleaning of the glasses, is a kind of experience or a little bit theatrical moment
So this was a very, it's a stunning and beautiful design that also again takes into account the complexities of making coffee commercially to the level that a Starbucks would require. So for all those reasons, it was a really tough choice. But we do feel that the honor of runner-up, this team should be very very proud of, and the work is great.
Our second runner-up in the commercial category is the Alto Digital SPR system. We think this is the device that is a great example of successful integration of cutting-edge technology with good design and the potential to reshape category.
Yeah, so thinking about sort of how, again, going in that theme of taking the complex and making it simple, and that doesn't just apply to the look and sort of the interaction of the product, but really fundamentally how this device, as an SPR system, is taking the complex and really simplifying it and expediting sort of lab results and the work across the scientific field. So it's really nice to see not just the company mission being really centered on that user group and in creating solutions to improve the workflow of that user group, but also, fulfilling that through products and technologies that come together to do so.
And that improved workflow is really important in times like this, where like so many teams around the world are trying to discover vaccines for COVID-19, and those kind of machines really help to accelerate those processes, and it really gives a larger number of scientists and researchers access to those technologies. For the design, the Alto design is really characterized by those two large intersecting geometries. Those two volumes with those like parallel angular lines lean forward like towards the user and make the design overall feel approachable, but at the same time give it a highly professional appearance. That's the contrasting color scheme that breaks the design into its functional entities, and it really supports a clear visual hierarchy between those two elements, and it supports the seamless workflow and also creates a strong visual identity.
So all in all, a very complete solution. When you think about form, functionality, usability, the user interface, everything kind of coming together in a solution that has high both social impact and industry impact on the field. So there are three honorable mentions that we would like to acknowledge who did a great job in their product submission and the overall solution of what their product offers in the industry. The first being the Leica Geosystems BLK2GO. This is a very well integrated, very thoughtful three-dimensional scanner for environmental use. There's also the Rampart M1120, which looks at new means of protecting health practitioners from radiation in the working environment versus relying on solely a lead vest, which causes strain to the body over time. And then lastly, the Impinj RFID reader, which really integrates form and function and the needs of a highly complex heating and passive cooling system with high design, and really having those two things come together in a very clean way.
So next, we would like to introduce the winners of this year's students category for the commercial equipment. The project that really stood out to us is the project called Vento. What we really like about this project is that it presents a very compelling design solution for a unique problem space. It addresses the problem or the issue of hypoxia, also known as elevation sickness, that mountaineers or like climbers would experience in like remote, highly elevated regions. And we are not aware that there's like any other solutions to really address the problem. So we are excited to find this project that really seems to address the entire problem space in a very holistic way.
Yeah, so we thought the whole process seemed really thoughtful, and the consideration for compactness, for lightweight, and for simplicity of use. It's kind of an emergency use only, so you need to understand how to use it real fast when the moment arises. And appreciated the prototyping, and then this kind of a really nicely integrated, clean, simple product at the end.
Yeah, so a lot of thought and detail went into all the aspects of this solution, and really, thinking about the importance of compactness and the usability across the product in a situation like this. So I think these details were considered, from the air pump that created the filled the pressurized bag, to the instructions, to how it's sort of compacted down into a small carrying case. So I feel like there's a lot of thought that went into the solution space, or the user needs, that informed a lot of the qualities of the design. So something that needs to be very functional in a time, where there's urgency, while also, again, considering the usability, the details, and the overall design. So we felt that this entry really exemplified that full amount of thought, and the process, and then just the overall quality of the design and the detailing, for the student category. We were very impressed by. So that's why we are awarding Vento the top honor in the student category. So to introduce the runner-up in the student category for commercial equipment, we're happy to announce Omnia as the runner-up for the category, where really this team created an entry that looks to serve a real need in sort of the steps in a medical treatment environment, where you're moving from sort of the triage scenario to the treatment within the hospital, and thinking about how you start to close the gap in communication, and really set patients up and practitioners up on the hospital side to more efficiently and effectively address incoming patients who are being triaged in the field.
So overall, thoughtful research, well executed presentation, storytelling of the components, and a good solution with the balancing the digital solution for what's currently all pen and paper, but then also maintaining the analog portion where that makes sense, and not getting wrapped up in making everything digital. So a really nice, balanced, and thoughtful project. And our second runner-up is the Tire Collective, a beautifully executed project on a real life problem and a pressing matter, the issue of microplastics coming off of tires. We thought this was a really well told story in the presentation format, thoughtful execution, and communicating the real problem, and going through the kind of technology and science of the solution, elegantly using existing draft and airflow to pull the plastic off, and again, really beautiful video, beautiful photography of all of the experimentation and testing that has been done. So great work.
Yeah, I was really surprised to learn about this issue actually, and how it impacts the environment. So it's like really awesome to see a project that really has a proof of concept already and seems to work pretty well. We're still seeing a few challenges, maybe with the implementation into like a real world solution. But I think no matter what, it's really like a problem that needs to be addressed. And we are really hoping the design team is going to be able to further pursue this project.
Yeah, we'd love to see the next steps and see it on a vehicle.
There are two honorable mentions in the student category that we would like to highlight. The first being this DTS-01 drill targeting system, where the team really brought to life a really beautiful and thoughtful design intended on solving a very kind of unique, challenging problem in the aerospace assembly industry. Similarly, in the same industry, we have the Hollow submission, which again brings together a user interface and physical industrial design to solve a assembly and manufacturing issue to really increase efficiency and quality of production in a highly complex industry. So congratulations to both for taking on an honorable mention in the commercial equipment category.